Hi everybody, this is Anders with Mind the Shift. Those of you who have been following this podcast for a while, listening to a few episodes, you know that the scope of it is very broad. It's from, economics and politics, radical changes in economics and politics, through challenging the mainstream narrative of health and environment, all the way to spiritual awakening. And this is because that's who I am. I've always wanted the whole picture. I can't just sit in one corner of the world and look upon it. But this also means that sometimes I connect the dots in ways that some people might find a bit strange. Like what I'm going to try to do today. Connect the dots between climate alarmism and materialism. How is that possible? Well, it's all about a mindset, really. A recurring mindset. That one of the most destructive features of climate alarmism is when people get stuck in the idea that science is settled. It's not settled. These are complicated matters. We know the temperature has gone up in the world, but exactly how much that is due to anthropogenic CO2 emissions and exactly how much warmer it's going to get given certain factors, and exactly what consequences this will have for the weather is not known simply. The so-called climate sensitivity is the same as it has been since 1979, according to IPCC, the climate panel. So when you tell people, those who are stuck in the climate alarmism narrative, they don't really see this because this is in the media and this is what politicians are talking about. And they're constantly talking about the crisis that we are facing. And so when you point out to people that there has been no increasing trend in extreme weather and that the temperature trends are less dramatic than what politicians and the media will have it, those people that are stuck in that narrative, they simply don't take it in, because it's what you're telling them is from a different reality. They're living in a different reality than you. So they dismiss it without even checking the facts. They don't need to check it. They just dismiss it. And it's exactly the same thing that happens when you try to point out to people that there is no evidence that consciousness is seated in the brain. But on the other hand, there are millions of accounts from people who have, firstly, there are nowadays many scientific studies that relate to what people have told who have had, for instance, near-death experiences and have had enormously vivid conscious experiences while they have been clinically dead, and that there are millions of accounts from people who have been clinically dead, flatlined, and having had out-of-body experiences. They have seen their bodies from above and seen the operating team, the surgeon team, and have been able to see what they were doing with your body and which tools they were using and even what they were telling each other, and have been able to relate that, to tell that afterwards, events that have been corroborated by doctors and nurses. And so the evidence for the fact that consciousness is not located in the brain, it's non-local and non-physical, is overwhelming in my view, if you read those accounts and those studies. And it's a fact that no scientist has so far found the neuron or the neurons or the cluster of neurons where this consciousness supposedly is being produced. But when you tell people who are stuck in the mainstream narrative about these things, it's the same thing even there, that the narrative is that science is settled, or at least that natural science and natural science only is the only thing that is going to eventually find the answers to the riddle of the so-called hard problem, the problem that no one so far has been able to locate consciousness in the brain. But it's the same reaction there, because these people who are stuck in that mainstream narrative, they don't even go there. The things that I was talking about here, the evidence that people have had out of body experiences, for instance, that's not a path that they will take even. They won't go there because it's a different reality. They're living in one reality, and this is part of a different reality. So that mindset is kind of stuck in a box there. And so you might say, what about me then, and the likes of me? We who have this worldview, the worldview that, in these two matters, this goes for so many topics and issues, by the way, but I just the other day came to think of the similarities between these two narratives, these two mindsets here. So the persons like me who see it differently, aren't we also stuck in a mindset? We have our own little box that we're stuck in. Well, it's an excellent objection, of course. It's a good question. But there is one big difference. And the difference is that I can only talk for myself and my experience, of course. But I know it's like this for everybody, of course. I know exactly what the mainstream worldview looks like. I know exactly what it looks like in detail. I mean, I've been showered with it, with those worldviews since school days. So, and I read about it in the papers, and I mean, I'm not looking that way because I can't avoid it. I know exactly how it is to look on the world and see things that way. And it would, I could I could choose to stay in those worldviews. It would probably in many ways be fairly, comfortable, but I can't. I just can't. If mainstream media and politics and science says the same thing with one voice, it doesn't have to mean that it's true. That's very important to remember. It can be true, of course, but you can only trust your own judgment and your own intuition. You have to come to your own conclusions about what's likely and what's not likely. And there are facts and there are studies out there that will oftentimes tell you a different story, even in the mainstream. Even in the mainstream you can find them. So maybe this was strange, or maybe, hopefully, this resonated with some of you out there. Thank you. See you. Love you. Bye.